Most people grow up believing that intelligence is a guarantee. If you think deeply, notice patterns, and understand how the world works, life should eventually reward you. You're told that smart people always figure it out. That clarity comes with time. That success is just delayed, not denied. But if you look around honestly, you'll notice something unsettling. Many of the most intelligent people you know aren't winning. They're not reckless or lazy. They're careful, thoughtful, aware, and yet they feel stuck, emotionally, professionally, mentally. Not because they don't understand life, but because they understand it in a way that quietly traps them. Intelligence gives you the ability to see consequences before acting. That sounds like a strength, until you realize it also trains you to hesitate. You imagine every outcome, every risk, every version of failure. While others move through trial and error, you stay in analysis. While others learn by doing, you learn by thinking. Over time, thinking becomes a substitute for living. You don't make bad decisions, but you also don't make bold ones. And slowly, without noticing, your life becomes smaller than your potential. One of the most invisible traps smart people fall into is the belief that life must make logical sense as a continuous story. Once you choose a path, your mind insists that everything afterward must connect. If you studied something, your career should follow it. If you invested years into a direction, changing it feels irrational. Walking away feels like wasting time. Admitting you were wrong feels like failure. So instead of asking what actually fits who you are now, you ask what makes the story look consistent. Your past decisions begin to control your future ones, not because they're still right, but because they exist. This is how intelligence quietly turns into loyalty to outdated versions of yourself. You stay committed to decisions made by a younger mind with less information. You defend paths that no longer feel right, simply because they once did. Growth stops being about curiosity and becomes about justification. And the longer you stay, the harder it feels to leave. Not because leaving is wrong, but because it disrupts the narrative you've been telling yourself and others. Another trap is approval disguised as responsibility. Smart people often become experts at choosing what looks reasonable from the outside. They learn early how to make choices that earn respect. Choices that sound mature, stable, sensible. You choose paths that reassure parents, partners, employers, and society. On paper, everything looks fine. Sometimes even impressive. But internally, something feels off. You may look successful, yet feel disconnected from your own life. That's because you're no longer living from alignment. You're living from explanation. Approval feels safe. It reduces friction. It keeps life predictable. But it slowly disconnects you from your internal compass. You stop asking what energizes you, and start asking what can be defended logically. Over time, your life becomes something you can explain, but not something you feel deeply connected to. And no amount of praise can replace the feeling of choosing your life consciously. Then there's the most celebrated trap of all, the belief that life must be extraordinary to be meaningful. The idea that you need one defining passion, one grand purpose, one big mission that gives everything significance. Anything less feels like settling. This belief sounds inspiring, but it creates enormous pressure. You put all your meaning into a single future outcome. And when that outcome becomes unclear or unattainable, life feels empty. Smart people suffer deeply from this trap because they think in ideals. They imagine the perfect version of a meaningful life, and then compare their reality to it. If life doesn't feel epic, they assume something is wrong. So instead of engaging fully with what's in front of them, they wait. They delay living until everything aligns. Meaning becomes fragile because it depends on perfection. And perfection rarely arrives. What makes all of these traps dangerous is not that they're irrational. It's that they're logical. Smart minds are excellent at rationalizing their own limitations. You call avoidance patience. You label discomfort as wisdom. You confuse hesitation with depth. And because everything sounds reasonable in your head, you don't realize you're stuck. You just feel tired, unmotivated, disconnected. Like life is happening slightly out of sync with you. This is where awareness begins. Not with motivation, not with a dramatic decision, but with noticing language. Especially the word should. I should be further by now. I should want this. I should be satisfied. Every should points to an invisible script running in the background. A script you inherited, absorbed, or built to survive, not necessarily to thrive. The moment you replace should with might, something shifts. What might I want instead? What might I explore? What might I try without committing forever? These questions don't demand certainty. They don't require confidence. They invite movement. Is what breaks stagnation, not clarity. Freedom doesn't come from burning your life down. It comes from loosening your grip on continuity. From allowing yourself to evolve without needing to justify it. From accepting that a meaningful life doesn't need to look impressive, linear, or explainable to anyone else. It needs to feel consciously lived. Smart people don't need more thinking. They need permission. Permission to experiment without turning every decision into a life sentence. Permission to disappoint expectations without labeling it failure. Permission to live without needing the story to make perfect sense. Because intelligence is powerful, but only when it's used to explore, not to stay safe. If you're still watching, it's likely because something here felt uncomfortably familiar. That's not a coincidence. Awareness always feels like recognition before it feels like relief. You don't need to change everything after this video. Just notice where you're living on autopilot. Notice where you're choosing safety over aliveness. That awareness alone changes how you move forward. If this video put words to something you've felt for years but never said out loud, subscribe for clarity, not motivation. And leave a comment about the one idea that described your life more than you expected. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is stop explaining your life and start living it.